Courage and the boldness that you gain after speaking affirmations over yourself. The more you hear it, the more you believe that it's true.
And welcome to Premier Fitness. I'm Gene Williams, your yoga instructor, and I'm here to tell you about the benefits of yoga.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for joining. Where is the love? I am your host. I am Stephne Hockenhull. Joining me is my son, my co-host, Gene Williams.
Hi.
We caught you.
I can't do my own music.
Must be nice to be able to jam to your own music.
Man, it's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful. I'm grateful.
So y'all, just in case you didn't catch that, we are not joking. That is Gene singing, him and his band playing. And Mark said you acting a fool already.
Hey, I came out the gate with it, man. Listen, I can't play with the people. They gotta know. They know me. They know me out there.
They know you out here in these streets.
You know. I'm a player.
So y'all, we always come on here clowning. That's what we do. We've been bullied so much that clowning is just a part of what we do. Because we enjoy life. We have learned to deal with bullying. We have learned to speak up about it, speak up to it, speak up to the person that's doing it. And so because we have learned that we have overcome and we are excited about life, whereas we were always down and depressed about life and what's going on in life now. We look at it from a whole different perspective.
And can't forget angry and anxious and Lord,
yes,
all of those things.
Yes. So we had a guest on our show last week. Shawnee Smith was our guest last week, and she talked about spices and how spices aid in healing your body. And so, of course, our body needs to heal. We need to heal from hurt and harm and danger and offenses and all these things. And then naturally, we need to heal from things that happen to us. So the show was phenomenal. If you want to catch it, go back to episode 37 and listen to the conversation, and you will be amazed. You will be blessed.
And man, listen, I need to say this. And she dropped some recipes on that joint, man.
Yes.
Mouth, like I'm sitting over here like it tastes so good in my head. You know? Man, if you're looking for some vegan recipes that taste like the real thing, check it out. Make sure you go back and check that last show out. Very important.
Yes. And that is Shawnee Smith from Ken Do Spice, KEN-DO Spice. So check out her page. Check out her recipes. She has pictures of her foods, and man, do they look delicious.
Man, listen, I almost licked my phone a few times. Looks so good. I'm like, that is just ridiculous. I said my phone was gonna be scratch and sniff. You're like my dog.
You so silly. So y'all, we have been talking about forgiveness since January, and the importance of forgiveness. In February, well, this month on the 16th, we talked about unforgiveness. We talked about the harm of.
Keep going. We're good.
Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm looking at the notes the producer is typing. So we had so on the in our class on February 16th, we talked about unforgiveness. We talked about the harm in unforgiveness, how it negatively affects your body, where the stress lies in your body. We talked about distress, the ways that the stress harms our body. And then we talked about the benefits of forgiveness.
Right.
So you can, we are doing this class again it is requested again by high demand. I'm putting on my earphones, another earplug, because I hear a little hissing. I don't know what that is. But we will be redoing this class on March 16th. So if you missed it, come back and you can hear it. It is amazing. The information is amazing. It's very helpful. And so we'll be putting ads out there again to remind you to come to that class. It's a free class and it's an hour long from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you can be there, and you will benefit from that. You want to add anything?
Yeah, I was going to say we present in the class a basically a three-pronged approach to work through the pains that you go through dealing with people and in the process of forgiveness. And it was just amazing to see again three sides, like how it interacts with the body, how we all become victims of cycling in and out of being angry and having to forgive and things of that sort. And then the other aspect of it, the benefits of actually allowing yourself to forgive and go through that process. It was a great class. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
And so did I. Mark, I'll get that to you here shortly when I give it over to Jean. So we recapped already what we did on last week's show. So and then we talked a little bit about what we've been talking about. So now we are adding an addition to forgiveness. Communication is very important. It is something we must do. It is the thing that's going to help change the trajectory of a I can't even think of the word of an area that unforgiveness has taken you. So you must communicate. We must communicate. So today we're going to be talking about communication and forgiveness. And shortly you will see Can Do Spice. You'll see the website going across. That is just for your information because we do want you to go back and take advantage of ordering spices from Shawnee Smith, the CEO of Can Do Spice.
Right.
So, Jean, if you want to add something, go ahead. And then would you go ahead and get started going over the content of today's show, please?
Right. For sure. And make sure when you go to Can Do and get those spices, make sure you let her know we sent you,
Yes.
Yes. Let her know we sent you.
We heard about you on Where's the Love, so we're ready to order those spices.
Right, exactly.
Thanks for putting in that plug.
Shameless plug for the peoples. We're a community here. We gotta help each other out.
So you can go ahead and get started, please.
Sure. All right. So again, as the beautiful hostess said, we are talking about communication and forgiveness. So let's get started. All right. At this point, you can clearly see that forgiveness is almost entirely an inside job. This means that the process of forgiving happens inside of a person's mind and heart. It is about them learning to see themselves, others, and the world differently, and it is almost never really about another person. However, there is a place where forgiveness begins to intersect with others. In fact, there are two places. First, at some point along the forgiveness journey, a person may find themselves needing to communicate their forgiveness to another. They also may find themselves needing to express how they feel or even make an apology. So in this section, we dig deeper into the important communication and listening strategies that unlock the possibility of expressing forgiveness or apology effectively. Second, communication skills in general can be part of the problem that leads to the need to forgive ourselves and others in the first place. Most people can Most people make common communication mistakes when expressing their grievances, confronting those who have harmed them, or trying to hear someone out who is expressing a concern. By learning common communication errors to avoid and practicing powerful, clear, healthy communication processes, people can improve the clarity of their communication and therefore improve their relationships and cause less pain and resentment. All right. So, again, here are the healthy communication strategies that we're suggesting here. Everyone talks about the importance of communication, but few ever actually learn communication techniques and then apply them to their relationships. Clear, kind, deliberate communication can save you a ton of stress and pain, and most importantly, help you avoid the situations that led to a need to forgive yourself or others. Um, these simple communication tips are the keys to healthy communication in which you can express your needs and grievances in a way that doesn't one make the other person wrong or defensive, or two trigger common hot buttons that escalate a conversation into an argument. Lord, yes, this is very important. Yeah, that man. Listen, this. What's up?
Go ahead, because I'm gonna add something to this.
Okay, for sure. All right. So tip number one, man.
Oh, before you go into the tip,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I thought you was getting ready to add something to what you just read.
Mm-mm.
So it's always hard when you are communicating with somebody. You know, if you're already ready to,
Right.
I'm gonna chop you up. So it's so um, we have to be willing to listen to the other person without being defensive and being ready to fight.
Right.
Because when you have that attitude, you're not even listening
Right.
because you're ready to strike out, ready to strike them, ready to punch them.
Right.
So communication is so important, it's so vital in relationships, any kind of relationship. It doesn't have to be an intimate relationship. We have to be able to communicate. We have to feel free to communicate. If we don't feel free to communicate, man, things are not going to work out.
Right.
And you can't always be one to transmit. You got to learn how to receive.
Right. It's got to be a balance.
Yes. So I just wanted to say that don't always be, like it says, don't always, be the person that's being so defensive or
Right.
Ready to push the hot button. I'm ready to argue. What kind of communication is that? That ain't no good communication. That is love misunderstood.
Right. There we go.
Where is the love in that?
Woo-hoo, look at you now. Look at you now. Get him. Get him.
There is none in that. Right. Okay, so go ahead. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. So again, this is funny that this is what we're talking about, because this is something that I have conversed with my therapist several times about. So especially the first tip, she said, well, it says never use the words always or never.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. if someone ever has told you, you always do this or you never do that, how do you feel? Defensive.
Yep.
There's no faster way to shut down open communication than to generalize and accuse. Lord, say it, sing it in the background. It is okay to point out a behavior that another person is doing or how you feel or what you feel could be improved. But it isn't okay to use the two words never or always. Yeah, be more specific. When you do, yeah, well, never mind. Oops, I'm sorry, I almost gave you the second tip. Whoops, my bad. My bad. You know what I'm saying? We was there with it. Okay.
Oh shoot.
All right. So tip 2, use when, what, and how statements. Way more effective and way less charged.
Yes.
Because you come at me like you always do. I can't always be doing something. I'm doing other things too. Anyway,
yeah.
Never mind. Sorry. I went to the whole.
Flashback.
Flashback. Oh Lord. All right. During those inevitable times that you need to address a person's undesirable behavior or how you felt as a result of what they said or did, the key is to address the behavior without associating that behavior with a judgment of their whole character. And your verbiage has to be very specific because some people just don't see it that way regardless.
Right.
But if you're very cognizant and very judicious with your verbiage, then you absolve yourself basically of the reality that you were actually being harsh. Now, if you came at them in a kind way, and constructively criticized, then they can't say that you came at me. You came at me. No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Right.
I said this, and it was very clear, and it was very kind. I didn't blame you. I didn't accuse. I didn't judge. We just talking, man. Listen. This, and it was very clear, and it was very.
I was trying to pull up the YouTube channel. It was very clear.
Is this thing on? We hear echo out there, world.
Let me see. Okay, hold on. Okay, never mind that. Sorry, y'all. I was trying to pull up my YouTube. Where are we at?
I got you. All right. Sorry. So when we assume, accuse, or judge the person, they become defensive. And instead of hearing what you're trying to express, they get stuck needing to explain and defend themselves. Lord, it can be challenging to know what to say when you have to confront someone. So using when, what, how statements gives you a simple and easy to remember process for saying the hard stuff. First, identify when the situation occurred to eliminate the possibility of them being unclear about what you are referring to. Second, specifically identify the behavior you are concerned about. Third, state how you feel as a result of what they said or did to you that was undesirable.
Yep.
And here's a simple example of how to address your parent or child about leaving clothes on the floor. Yesterday, when you left your clothes on the floor, it made me feel like you didn't notice or appreciate the effort I put into cleaning the room. Stating it like this avoids assuming, accusing, or judging, and simply expresses how you feel, while implying what you want them to do differently, without being critical or expecting them to guess what you would want. But it's good to recognize the when, what, how statements can be used for positive things too. For example, if you want your family to help more around the house, don't focus on the times that they don't help. Yes, Lord. Nobody want anything. Why you always got to bring up the past, man? Anyway. We're looking at it now. Can we live right now, please? Focus on when they do help you and make them feel good about it. by stating your appreciation. For example, last night when you washed the dishes, I really appreciated it because I was tired and it was nice to be able to relax. Anyone you recognize in this way will feel appreciated and therefore be more willing to continue these positive behaviors that you affirm.
Yep. So I'll do tip 3.
Okay.
All right. So tip 3, make I statements. Another way to avoid sounding like you're attacking someone is to focus on how you feel about something rather than pointing out what they have done. Again, instead of making assumptions, accusations, or judgments about a person's motives, communicate only how their behavior made you feel. This shows them you're taking responsibility for it. And because you're not accusing them of making you feel that way intentionally, they are not defensive and instead are more open to discussing the situation. The
Right.
key to this is to use I statements instead of you.
Right.
Statements and to use I statements instead of you statements and to focus on how you feel about what they did. Okay, so our producer got jokes, and that's what we're laughing about. He said,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gene.
Well, I'm just saying, like, this also reminds me of, and this is unfortunate not to plug this book. I mean, it's a great one, though. Stop Walking on Eggshells. Like, it literally, laid out the same kind of tips for communication. Like with the person with narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay.
And forget it. BPD, can't even think of it now. Bipolar disorder. Thank you.
Yeah. So our producer said, so y'all can get in on the joke. He said, wait a minute, not that dreaded word assumption, making another word for donkey out of you and them. So y'all can figure that out. And then he said, might slip and fall if you walk on eggshells. They might be slippery, about to make a person a Humpty Dumpty. So that's why we're laughing, because he's making jokes and we can see it, but y'all can't. So we don't want to leave y'all out.
See them out there. They don't need to know.
So did we do? No, we didn't do this part. For example, sometimes I feel ignored or unimportant when you don't respond to me, even when I'm talking to you. Even better, you can combine the I statement with the when, what, how method. When you were using the computer last night, this is the example. When you were using the computer last night and you didn't respond to what I was saying, I really felt the computer is more important than I am. Stuff like this, to me, is so immature. I mean, yes, you need to express yourself, but how? Okay, Mark. But I mean, yes, of course, we need to express ourselves. We need to get it out there, what we're feeling and how things made us feel. But sometimes we can pick the silliest little things to complain about.
Right.
And some of these things we need to keep to ourselves. I mean, they're on the computer. It's just like this. This is something some people might get bothered by, but I have to state the facts. That's just like when men love sports. And so they're sitting there watching sports all day, football or basketball, whichever it is, or whatever other sport. And the woman complains that, all you do is sit and watch sports. If you want them to do something else with you, then ask them to. But can you please find another time to do whatever it is you want to do and let them enjoy their game. I
Right.
mean, we all have things that we enjoy. So we don't want to be taken away from whatever it is we enjoy just because somebody
Attention.
is right. So to me, petty is a word I was trying to think of a while ago.
Yeah.
Those kind of things are petty.
Right.
Let them watch the game for hours a day. They're at home. You ain't got to worry about who they with or what they're doing.
Right.
So I mean, that's how I think. And I know everybody don't think like me, but can we not be, I mean, can we be more mature about things like that? Put yourself in their shoes. If it's something that you really enjoy, then you don't want somebody interrupting you to do something to please them. There's there's 24 hours in a day, which there really are 24 hours in a day. But if they want to watch the game for 6 to 8 hours a day, you have the rest of the time to spend with them. So find another time to do it. Don't interrupt and that's being mean and petty, like I said. And that's just an example.
Yeah. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Both ways it goes. Like, you need to be considerate of your partner in this situation like that. If you know you're gonna watch, a game, 4 or 5 hours a day, every 4 or 5 times a week, then schedule times, with your partner.
Definitely.
If you are on like, for instance, the example, if they're on the computer doing something and you're trying to have another conversation, is it important enough to interrupt them?
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta, like the saying goes, pick your battles. It's not necessarily a battle, but pick and choose your times to break people away from what they're doing. You have to be considerate of the other person, knowing who they are. And
Right.
also, like what Mark said, if they're playing the video game all day, then maybe learn it and play it with them.
Yep.
That create a bridge. For the things that you want and the things that they want. So it's a win-win situation, as opposed to you trying to pull me away from something I'm trying to do, and now I'm frustrated and bitter and resentful.
Exactly.
You keep, being
nagging me.
Right. And being, energetically possessive, trying to take all my, my time away from something I love. Let me have this and you. I can balance that.
Right. And so another way to think about that is, are you being selfish about what it is you want? If what you want can wait, or if you can, create another time, or say, well, you enjoy watching the game 5 or 6 hours a day or whatever, can we do this after the games, or can we do this before the games? Don't be selfish, and it's all about me, and I want it my way, and we got to do it my way.
Or watch the game with them.
Hello, that's not hard. And if you don't want to watch all of the games they watching, then watch some of it and get up and do something else. But don't expect them to stop watching the game just because that's what you want to do. That's something they enjoy. Don't take away people's enjoyment just because you're being selfish. Right. So just think about, what are your motives, when you're doing stuff like that, and learn how to communicate better, efficiently.
Yeah, Mark said, if someone tried to take me away from my music, I'd have a fit or a heart attack. That's why I'm so blessed to be with someone who's beside me creating music as well. If you pull me away from a creative process, I am going to be quite frustrated with you. I'm going to tell you, go to the left. Get out of my face right now. Is it important? So you pull me away for that. So wait a minute, hold on. Time. No, don't say nothing. You pulled me away from something I love just because you wanted me to give you a piece of gum. Don't you see the bag over there? Yeah.
Anyway, we just had to interject that. Just don't be selfish about what you're doing. Right. And don't try to control people and make them do what you want them to do. We're going to do it my way or the highway. Man, forget you and that you're talking about. That ain't real love. Where's the love?
Again.
Love misunderstood.
Just can't wait till you're on the road again.
Mark said deuces.
Deuces. Get out of here. Get out of here.
All right. So tip number 4, make a good feel-good sandwich. Whenever there are negative situations that you need to address with someone, soften it by making sure that the negative is in the middle of a positive sandwich.
Yeah.
Start with some positives, such as things that you appreciate about him or her, or something they've done well. Next, express your concern while being specific about the behavior that negatively affects you, using the previously addressed strategies. Then finish it with another positive statement, perhaps affirming that you know there is a solution or that they had good intentions. So when it comes to someone bringing something to your attention that bothers them or that negatively, I'll just say that bothers them, that they don't agree with. If you go to them with the negative in the first place, they already like back up.
Right. It's jarring.
Right. But if you go to them and you start out with something nice, something positive and honest, don't just go lying.
Right.
Start out with something positive and then, say this is my concern, and then end it, with a positive, and appreciation. And that way, whatever it is you're saying is more receptive than if you go to somebody, in attack mode.
Right.
Okay, so one key to note here is to make sure that you are not saying positive things to this person only when you need to tell them something negative.
Yes.
That's all bad too.
Yeah, because you be like, what do you want?
Right.
You ain't glad to be over like, what?
Yep. So otherwise, as soon as you say something positive to them, they will be waiting for you to stuff them with a feel-good sandwich. So what has been the common message of all 4 of these common tips? Don't assume, don't accuse, don't judge. The reason for this is that the beginning of any difficult conversation needs to start with the person feeling open to talking.
Right.
Making them defensive right off the bat is the quickest way to start a terrible, terrible, terrible conversation. Your goal in any communication is to communicate yourself clearly while making the other person feel respected and heard.
Right.
You want to add anything?
No, that's yes, that is perfect right there. Like,
it summed everything up.
Man, right there, just bam.
Yep.
Wrap it up.
So you want to go with the next part?
Yeah. All right, man. So check this out. We about to level up our listening skills here, man. Okay. I'm sorry. Hold on, guys. Hold on. We're going to level up our listening. Okay.
Y'all pray for my child.
I'm gonna do the oil on my forehead too on the screen right there. On your screen, not on my forehead. Gotta anoint the baby. Okay. Anyway. All right. So most of the arguments, misunderstandings, and conflicts that end up leading to incidents that later need to be forgiven or apologized for can be avoided with good communication and, more importantly, good listening. Good listening and a productive response result from the following 4 steps: active listening, validation, paraphrasing, and response using the communication techniques we discussed in the healthy communication strategies portion of this lesson. All right, so check it out. Step one, active listening. Man, I've said this so many times. Can you just listen and stop trying to outthink me? You don't know where I'm going. And let you just sit back and listen. I'll tell you everything from point A to Z. Anyway, people. I like people, but I mean I love people, but I don't always like them so much. All right. The first step to effective listening is to stop talking.
So important.
This does not just mean staying quiet. It also means being an active listener. Lord, glory to God. Mm, mm, mm. You know what? Forget it. I'm at this because what people generally do is they sit back in false listening positions, um, taking tidbits of what you said, not hearing the whole story, and then in their mind or verbally trying to defend something that's not an entire point. I wasn't even done. You don't know where I was going. If you just listen, just actively sit back and listen, and then hit these steps. Then go back and paraphrase. So you said da 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 da. Da. You know what I mean? Ugh, man, oh, this is
Yeah.
gold. This is gold right here. People, I hope a lot of people hear this. Is so important. So
Yes,
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna repeat it for the people in the back. Okay. So, step one, active listening. The first step to effective listening is to stop talking. This doesn't mean just staying quiet. It also means being an active listener. The purpose of listening is to obtain information about the other person's perspective so that you can gain a deeper understanding. However, most people are never truly listening. Instead, they're mentally rehearsing their counterpunch.
Yeah.
Woo, Lord! Mm, mm, mm. Ah, mm. Often we do not listen enough to understand what we're hearing accurately. Yes. So when we respond with our own opinion or argument, it's often not even relevant to what the person is saying. Like we arguing a point that's not even what I was talking about.
Yep.
Like where that come from?
Yep.
You heard 2, 3 words and you strung them into a whole sentence for yourself and created a whole encounter that did not need to happen.
Yep.
Keep listening to me.
Yep.
You see his face?
I see it.
In order to prevent a conversation in which both people are simply talking to themselves, follow these simple steps to listen actively with the intent to understand, because
Yeah.
it should never be about arguing. I don't care about being right. Let's be honest, and let's have proper information. Lord, I didn't even get to see that he just gave a thesis right there, didn't he? You know what? You gonna read? I'm gonna read what Mark said. Oh goodness.
You want me to what you want me to do?
No, because I'm gonna start acting a fool. I'm gonna keep reading. Mark, I'm gonna let you in a second. In order to prevent a conversation in which both people are simply talking to themselves, follow these simple steps to listen actively with the intent to understand. One, give the other person your full attention. Don't be multitasking or playing with your phone. Man, look, I was gonna say, don't be playing with your phone or watching TV. Turn everything off and tune in to that person.
Yep.
Two, do not think about your response while they're talking. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
You come on, lawyer. Sit back and listen, man.
Because when you're thinking about your response while they're talking, are you really listening to them?
You can't.
You can't listen and
And rebut in your head.
right at the same time.
Can't. 3, look at them, make eye contact to let them know you're engaged. Again,
Yep.
the saying is the eyes are the window to the soul. So you're looking at them as, the person that you love and respect, and how whatever relationship you have with them, you're looking at them, and that is a sign of respect.
Yeah.
4, oh man, say this, Lord. Do not interrupt them. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna read this and I'm gonna tell you why I'm acting like that. Do not interrupt them. Responding only to seek clarification, or after their thought is complete. So basically, you allow them to finish what they're saying, and then at the end, you ask for clarification.
Right.
So I'm gonna say this. This particular person would constantly cut me off. And then when they would stop, I would repeat myself, and that person would get mad at me for repeating myself. Well, if you would just be quiet,
right,
and let me finish what I was saying from point A to B, A to Z, A to B, A to Z, then I would have to repeat myself. I mean, it's kind of common sense.
And that same person didn't want you to interrupt them when they were talking, did they? Yeah. See.
And I had a habit of doing it after it had been done to me for so long. Not trying to shirk the blame, but the fact is, once it happens so much, it's like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to finish my point, in a serious situation. So you know what? All right, no, that's not true. When I should have just been like.
Yeah, you gotta. If you don't speak up, then you just gonna get ran over. You know that, and never heard. Because people just don't. Some people just don't know how to listen. Right. They don't know how to receive. They just transmit. Everything I got to say is important. What you saying ain't important.
Nothing.
But everything everybody says, give people respect. Treat other people the way you want to be treated.
Treat them like they want to be treated. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
Which one are we on? You so doggone silly.
We're on 5. You want me to
Mike said you don't have to give him eye contact. You said number 5. I'll read it if you want to read some of what Mark was saying.
I'm reading this real quick because I actually do this. So pay close attention and take mental or even physical notes about these 3 things. The main point the person is trying to make, how they seem to feel, and why they seem to think or feel the way they do, or their perspective. Keeping these questions in mind will help you really tune in to what they're saying. And I've done that in really, really, really heated conversations with my love. I've taken a notebook and literally written down, okay, she said this, because I want to be clear, but I don't want to interrupt. Okay, this is how she feels. All right, and this, okay, all right. So then after she finishes, I'll be like, okay, so you said, and you break that down. All right, next point, and so on and so forth. And it was so much smoother. Like I never thought that, like literally writing down or even recording if you need to. So you go back and address, it just in a way that's not obtrusive and interruptive for the person who's speaking, but to keep their point in your mind. But some people get in the habit of, because they don't want to lose a point in their mind, they cut you off, which is not a good thing. It's not a good habit to do. If you feel as though you're going to forget what they're going to say or what they've said, then write it down. Write it down. Pull up your notes on your phone and put it in the notes. Just something that does not interrupt their flow, which creates frustration. Because I know for me, once you make me say something, I'm like, man, listen, I don't even want to talk no more. I'm good now.
Yeah.
I'm repeating myself too many times. You didn't hear me the first few times I said it, so I'm good.
And it makes the person can make the person feel devalued.
Right,
You know, you don't value anything I say or my feelings. And
right,
so then that can make the person feel hopeless, you know, in the relationship, whatever kind of relationship it is, you know, work relationship, intimate relationship, um, family relationship. It doesn't matter what the relationship is. You know, everybody wants to feel value, even you
right. Everybody
as a
deserves.
person. Yes, you want to feel valued and you want to feel respected. So, in order to get that, you have to give it. If you
Right,
don't give it, you're going to get back what you've been giving.
right,
And when you get back what you have been giving, you won't like it.
right,
Chances are you won't like it. So, RESPECT,
right,
and you'll be okay.
right. And, yeah,
And just because you do one thing, you know, you're treating people the way you want to be treated, you won't always get that back, because it just depends on that person's state of mind and how they feel and what they think about whatever it is. You know, everybody ain't gonna always treat you the way you treat them. So, you know, as we talked in other shows, you know, acceptance is important. You don't have to be around that person. You know, if that person is not giving you value and if that person is not giving you respect, then you have to decide whether you want to continue the relationship or, excuse me, the relationship or not. I can't even think of the words. Gene is gone, but there's words that we've learned in the past. When Gene come back, I'll ask him what those words are, so you can choose to stay in a relationship or choose to, if they're not giving you value, then you can release that relationship. If they're giving you value, stay there. So okay, so keeping these questions in mind will help you really tune into what they are saying. And so Jean already went over those. So a quick note about empathy: when you are trying to understand how someone feels, put yourself aside. You are not trying to imagine how you would feel if it were you. You are only trying to observe how they feel. Also, be on the lookout for your own emotions popping up, such as feeling bad for them. That's sympathy, not empathy. And we're talking about empathy here. So, or feeling reactive to what they're saying, such as judging them or making it about you. If you notice this happening, return your attention to them and look for clues as to how they are feeling, such as their tone of voice, posture, body language, and words they use, etc. So that's just a quick note about empathy. So, Jean, what are those two words? Because I can't remember. When a relationship is not good for you, you are not giving you value. You can choose to leave the relationship alone. Um,
you mean invest or divest?
yes, thank you. So invest in the person if the relationship is worth it, or divest if it's not doing you any good. Just leave it alone. Divest. Forget it. Push it out. You know, it's null and void. So now we're at paraphrasing. You want to?
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty. So step two, paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is also called mirroring. And it means to summarize and or reflect back to the other person what you heard them say in their own words. The purpose of paraphrasing is to make them feel heard and to confirm that you understand what they said. As a side note here, feeling heard is probably the number one most important aspect of all communication. This is why learning how to truly listen is the number one most important skill you can practice to help you create healthy, happy relationships. Okay, so here's how to mirror someone when you're listening. Start by saying, "So what you're saying is," or "What I heard." Well, it's probably better than that. Yeah, that's probably what. Followed by your summary of what they said, and then finishing by seeking clarification and saying, is that correct?
That lets them know that you've been listening to what they said.
Right. Then once they either confirm you understood what they said or they clarify what they meant, ask them, is there more? This is important because often the first concern the other party brings up is not the real issue.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So what you just brought up is not really the real issue. There's other issues. You're carrying a bunch of baggage.
Right.
And so you just brought this up, but you really have a whole bag full of stuff
Lord.
that you wanted to bring up. So that's why, whatever it is, the first concern may not be the real issue. So that's why, go ahead, Gene.
No, you go. You finish it.
So that's why it's so important to communicate instead of building stuff up, because then when you build it, when you let it build up and you communicate, it's going to be an explosion.
Right.
When if you would have communicated all along and said what you were really feeling, been honest about your feelings,
Right.
and shared your feelings,
Right.
then it would be much smoother.
Right.
So when a person brings up something and they're exploding, hold on, wait a minute. That's not the real issue. What's really going on? Let's talk about this.
Right.
It's so important. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, definitely. It's like holding in, food that your body trying to get rid of, and then you just keep piling stuff on top of it. And then all of a sudden you emotionally vomit all over somebody else because you didn't along the way, like with each issue, and don't make it a big deal. Just be like, hey, can we discuss this real quick? Instead of, again, like you said, piling up things over time, and it's like once it falls down, it's like the house is falling down around you. Like, no, let's be mature and adult and express things as we go.
Yeah,
so you have to come back and be like, that was 3 years ago. You bring up something that was 3 years ago.
Yep.
Talk about it. Well, listen, man, let's be open and vulnerable enough to communicate with people. Because again, communication, it's 150% of a relationship. 150. Any relationship you got. 150. Lord.
All right, 150.
Man, no, 150.
So you want to do the next part or you want me?
Sure, I can do it.
Okay.
All right, step 3, very important. Validation. So once the other person's message has been expressed and understood, the next step is to validate them that what they told you makes sense. It's important to note that validating them does not mean you have to agree with them. The goal here is to see things from their perspective and let them know you understand how they could feel that way.
Yeah.
Just like how feeling heard is the secret sauce to productive communication.
Absolutely.
Validation is the icing on the cake. Think about it. Is there anything you want more during conversations with those that you care about than to feel heard and validated? Here's an example of how to validate when someone is saying what someone is saying. I'm sorry. I see where you're coming from. What you're saying makes sense. Or an even more effective way to validate someone is to focus on how they expressed what they felt rather than what they said. For instance, I can see how you could feel that way. I would probably feel that way too if I were you. But again, make it genuine. Something along those lines, but again, make it genuine and authentic to how you express yourself.
Right.
Because these sound really corny. But but okay, I understand where you go. I see where you're coming from.
He's so silly.
All right, last but not least, I think we got. Oh yeah, okay. Winding down. All right. So step 4 is response. As we've already discussed, often when someone is expressing a concern or a grievance, simply listening in a way that makes them feel heard and validated is enough. Sharing your opinion or trying to solve their problem may not be necessary and often can be destructive.
Yeah.
However, obviously, some conversations are meant to be a sharing of ideas back and forth. So, after listening well, if the person is seeking an answer to a question, wanting to know your thoughts, or has asked you for help solving a problem, by all means, respond with a thoughtful dialogue using the communication techniques that have been discussed. You want to hit presumption and listening real quick?
You said you want me to do it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So presumption and listening. Human communication is complicated.
Yes, Lord.
Human communication is complicated. When someone is speaking to us, we take their words, filter them through our belief system,
100%.
and analyze what they have said to our point of view.
Mm-hmm.
We then come to a conclusion, believing we understood the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been in a situation where someone said to you, I never told you that? Or I said that, but that is not what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever asked your siblings about something that was said at a family gathering and each one of them comes up with a different version?
Yep.
Were you the only one who actually heard what was said? Doubtfully. We know that people don't always say what they mean out of fear or hurting each other, fear of judgment or fear of retribution. So they may say something that's not exactly what they actually mean. And we're supposed to understand what their true intention is.
Mm.
Between people not communicating what they mean and are filtering what they're saying, it's amazing human communication takes place at all.
Nice.
We can add in the difficulty we had translating other languages, especially idioms and words that have no translation from one language to another. Why? Just by moving from one side of the USA to the other, local slangs, various accents, and different customs can make communication confusing.
Oh, yes.
We also have our own definitions for the concepts we use in our conversations. For example, I may tell you that my partner is not being honest with me. You have your definition of what honesty means, and I've got mine. You may think this means not to tell blatant lies, but white lies are acceptable. I may believe that any lie is bad and that one should always tell the truth. So in this case, you may not understand my point of view because you don't have the same definition of honesty as I do. So what's the solution? Listening.
Mm-hmm.
Listening deeply to someone else is not about hearing what we want to hear according to our personal point of view. It's about listening to what the other person is saying from their point of view. This requires us to put all interpretation aside and to ask them to explain when we're not sure or if there's any doubt as to their meaning. We're going to start here next week. So we are out of time. You want to add anything, Gene?
No, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Again, communication is so vital in all relationships. Clear, concise, empathetic, and loving communication is extremely important in any kind of relationship. And without it, there will always be chaos, and there's gonna be chaos regardless. But
Right.
you have a lot less when you're able to communicate effectively and actively listen. Lord.
Yes. And again, as I said a couple times in this show already, you can't always transmit. You have to learn how to receive. And so if we are open to receiving and not always transmitting, and we're not always looking for the fault in whatever the person is saying, then, we can communicate effectively and thus be able to forgive each other more easily. So this is the end of our show. We will pick up on this again next week. We appreciate you joining our show today. We hope this information has helped and has been of value to you, just as it has been to us. So thank you for joining us. Take care. We will see you next week at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time right here. Take care. We send you away with love, peace, and we send you much joy and happiness. Right. Take care. Bye for now.